Welcome back. After taking a small international break, Perry and I decided to recharge our batteries and come back bigger and better as we lead up to a busy schedule up to the new year. I think we've got 8 or 9 games in the next month, 5 weeks. So plenty to talk about on North Londoners podcast. Just to remind you, if this is your first time listening to us, we are, as well as being on the Sports Social, which is the largest sports podcast network, you can find us on Spotify and Apple iTunes and all the main podcast platforms. Before we start this episode, I just wanted to say, obviously, sad news earlier, driving to Spurs, obviously, Terry Venables passing away. And I think, he's one of probably the last you'll ever see someone playing, winning an FA Cup, managing, winning an FA Cup with the same club, and then obviously becoming a part owner of the club. And it's a shame he didn't go into buying the club with someone else, because I feel Sugar set us back 10 years, but that's probably another argument for another day. But just very sad, 80, passing away. I heard he'd been quite ill for quite a while. Yeah, happy memories of him growing up. Obviously the Spurs team that he managed to the FA Cup final, and we won the FA Cup. But he was a great England manager, and obviously his off the field activities probably a little bit questionable, and probably why he didn't last as long as he did in the England job. But yeah, RIP Terry Venables.
Yeah, definitely. I second all of that. I actually, one of the few people associated with your club that I actually really, thought was a decent footballing man. Actually, he was a very, very good coach. He knew how to. Funny enough, he got to the Champions League final, didn't he? The European Cup final with Barcelona, and he lost to Steaua Bucharest, I think, on penalties. Yeah. He was unlucky there. And England should have won the Euros. He was a Gascoigne. If Gascoigne had bigger feet, he would have got to the. That was unlucky as well. And he was a good manager. Best friends with George Graham. I remember when and he was definitely would have been suited to the modern game as well. Now I actually look at him as a better manager than somebody like Mourinho, who was he was a winner, was much more of a winner, Mourinho, but actually the way Venables played the game was actually very, very good. And if you read, he agreed with me. If you read what some of the players are actually saying today, he really did kind of put some really good tactical genius behind some of the England performances in that Euro 96. So yeah, RIP, good man.
I mean, I remember going back a few years, he was such a character off the pitch. I was friendly with someone who was related to one of the Tottenham coaching staff, and we got invited one evening up to Kensington to his nightclub, Scribes, and we spent an evening at Scribes, and at the end of the evening, Venables came on stage and did a few numbers, and he was certainly
he loved his music. He loved his music.
Yeah, he was a great character. So yeah, very sad news.
All right.
So back to football. You must be delighted. The Arsenal are top, and yet again, the title is yours to lose.
Listen, I thought Arsenal again. Going forward, we certainly haven't hit the highs of last year. I think Brentford away is always a tricky game. It's a hard game. Yeah, is there anybody I'd sign from Brentford? Funny, obviously Tony. I think we're all going to be going in for him, but maybe the Ben Mee I like and Nordgaard, but they make it very difficult. He's a phenomenal manager. What he's done, at that club over the last few years is phenomenal. And we created some chances. Again, another kind of interesting VAR decision. I've seen so many replays of it, and It's actually just, we're getting to the City Liverpool game today, the Tottenham Villa game today. It's just, there's a major problem with VAR, and Arsenal scored yesterday. It was actually one of the first moments in the game where we actually played good, very well. But we are very, very good at the moment defensively, because Declan Rice has added he's a very, very big part of our defensive now. So, I mean, I don't know if you watched Ramsdale. Ramsdale. I'm literally being sick. I'm being sick when he did that. And then he rolls the ball out 10 minutes later. But if you take away Ramsdale, I thought defensively we played very, very well. Tomiyasu, Ben White was out, unfortunately. Tomiyasu came in. Going forward, not great, but very good defensively. Brentford, they're all right. They're a mid-table side, but they're hard to play against.
Listen, it's a good result going there. It is a good result. I mean, I said to Jake, my son, we were watching it, and it was 80 minutes, and I said they're going to nick it. I think you probably deserve to win. I don't think they did enough. They had a few chances, admittedly, but
I've said this for years, right, about these games, and you will agree with me, and we've both been going for whatever it is, over 40 years. Games are reported afterwards by the press and social media according to the results, not what actually happens. So had we drawn 0-0, everybody today would have been so different, and after the game on social media about our whole performance. I think what happened, because we nicked it 1-0, great delivery by Saka, who didn't play well. I didn't think he played well, but phenomenal delivery again. Havertz nicking it far post, happy for him, scoring his. It changes everything. So we look at the positives and everybody's happy, and we're top of the league. And are we going to stay there? Who knows? Probably not. But I think Arsenal played defensively very well. We controlled the entire game. Brentford had 2 opportunities purely from us. So we move on to Wolves next week. The worry for me, though, is that Declan Rice is so good. If he gets injured, without Partey, obviously we're out. That's gonna.
Don't talk to me about injury.
I know we're going to come on to Spurs. I think Spurs have got a deeper squad than Arsenal. I looked at it today and I looked at it yesterday. And if Rice was injured at the moment, because Partey's out, I know obviously Partey's out, but he seems to be always out. So we're left with El Neni and Jorginho. Well, I'm sorry, I'd have Højbjerg over. Well, I don't know, Højbjerg, Jorginho, probably the same. But you've got Soar, and Arsenal. And I look at Liverpool's midfield yesterday, and they started. They've got, and I worry about that. And that's the worry for me. We've got nice up front. We obviously need a central striker, but I worry about our squad a little bit. And I do think, because of injuries that everybody's got, obviously, especially, certain sides have got more than others, but we are reliant on certain players. If they stay fit, Arsenal will finish in the top 2. No question. If Rice, Gabriel and Saliba, who again was outstanding, they 3 stay fit for the rest of the season, and they only miss like 1 or 2, Arsenal will finish top 2. That's my prediction. However, if we don't, we could listen. Villa, I think, am I right in saying Villa are 4 points behind? Villa are in 4th, and they're 4 points behind us, or is it? Or 2 points behind us? I'm not even sure. It's tight. It's
so
really
basically Villa are on 28,
and we're on 30.
And you're on 30.
Yeah, so we lose to Wolves next week. They win at home to whoever.
I think you've got Villa coming up, haven't you, at Villa Park?
We've got Villa away in 3 games time. What a great game that's going to be. But no, listen, we're going to go on to Tottenham Villa. I think Arsenal, we're playing well. I think we need more players.
Well, you say you're playing well. I mean, they always say individuals win matches, defenses win titles. And I think what you said on the pod the other night, the other episode, is probably very true. I don't think you're playing as exciting, or as chaotic as you were last season. but you look solid. You do look more solid.
There's a bit of
And
George Graham about us. There's a bit of George Graham.
It's not quite clicking going forward. I think there are question marks about Saka. Not saying he should be dropped or anything. He's a phenomenal player, and he's probably
he assisted again yesterday.
Yeah, and up to then, but it doesn't matter. World-class players do something, whether it's in the first minute or the last minute. And
people know. Listen. People know. If you listen to Thomas Frank afterwards, people know how to play Arsenal. You double up on Saka and Martinelli.
Yeah,
and if you double up on Saka and Martinelli, what's so important is that the fullbacks and the centre forward are key. And yesterday, Tomiyasu defensively very good. He's not good going forward, so he missed Ben White. Left back, Zinchenko played well, but he's not, funny enough, he's not an overlapper. Comes in. So listen, I'm happy. We're top of the league. We've got Wolves next week at home. Tricky game, as you well know. But I'm happy at the moment. But I think it's a long way to go.
Before we go on to the Spurs game, I did a poll, which you probably saw on X or Twitter, as I still call it, about your goalkeeping situation. And I was generally, I'm not taking the mickey here, I was generally quite surprised with the results with regards to, I thought your fans would have more confidence in Raya than they seem to. Now, I know Twitter or X is only a snapshot of Arsenal fans and it's not, the feeling. But how do you think?
I don't think Ramsdale will ever play if Raya's injured. If Raya's fit, I don't think Ramsdale.
You think Raya is now your number one?
100%. 100%. Do I agree with that? Is a different conversation. I can't be bothered to go into it now. But Raya is Arteta's number one, no question. He will come back in on Wednesday night in our Champions League game, where if we win, we go through in first position. And I don't think Ramsdale, will he be sold in January? That I'm not convinced about, actually. Everybody seems to think he will be. One thing about Ramsdale is I think we'll get 45, 50 million quid for him, which I think is very important. We are going to need to sign a goalkeeper. You can't have like you or me in goal. Like we've got a guy called Hein, who's our third choice keeper. I mean, I don't know much about him. He might be good or whatever, but no, Raya's the number one now. I'd be very surprised if Ramsdale, if Raya's fit, ever plays a big game for us ever again.
Wow. Wow.
There you go.
Okay. No, fair enough.
Tottenham Hotspur, Tottenham Villa. Obviously, you went. What were your initial thoughts?
Well, listen, I'm gutted we lost. I thought the game changed when Bentancur, and I've got to say that Matty Cash, right? I was at Villa Park a couple of seasons ago when he ruined Doherty's season. That was a naughty challenge. And driving home, listening to Perry Groves on Talk Sport, he said he knew exactly what he was doing. He was controlling the midfield up to that point.
But we haven't had any. Can I just say something? We're not bantering tonight. I need to rip it out of you more, and you need to rip it out of me. But before I do, I totally agree with you. But this is what Arsenal fans have been saying for absolutely. Well, I mean, it goes back 20 years. That tackle from Matty Cash was an absolute disgrace, right?
Yeah.
But now you know. What Arsenal, he should have been sent off. The actual execution of the tackle wasn't as bad.
I haven't seen it in slow motion. I haven't seen it in slow motion.
No, he's so right, Perry Groves. If you try and do a tackle like that, it's disgusting. Is he all right, Bentancur? Because I
don't know. I mean, Ange said after the game he thinks it's a nasty ankle injury. It's such a shame because we've missed him for so long and we are so short. And I know every team gets injuries, but as you rightly said, your title chances slipped by missing Saliba last year. We've had Romero, self-inflicted, suspended for 3 games. Van der Ven, awful injury. Maddison, awful injury. Basuma, suspended today. Maddison, obviously bad injury. Bentancur comes back. Gets a nasty injury quite early on.
But that's the worst out of everything is the Bentancur injury because it's not self-inflicted. It's not unlucky. It's disgusting.
And I thought the first half an hour or so was probably our best 30 minutes maybe of the season. We played.
Well, I don't want to agree with you, but I have to admit that I watched it and I thought Spurs were very good.
I thought we were terrific.
But I have to say, go on.
My worry is, and I said this after 10 games when we had won 8, that we weren't, functioning it as well as I thought we could, the front three. And I think the front three weren't clinical enough today, and I haven't seen goals, they were probably all offside. I know one was because it was quite near where I was and I could see it was clearly offside. But, they just weren't clinical enough. I mean, we should have been 2 or 3 up at half time.
No, listen, I agree with you. I think, but number one, Son's, all 3 were way offside. There was never the one that was close was Watkins when they equalised straight after you scored. That was close, but he was offside, Watkins. He was offside. But there were moments where you thought to yourself, if Spurs don't get the second goal, Villa.
I heard, right? I mean, I didn't see much of it from where I was sitting, but I've heard in the 3rd minute, there was an incident where there was not only a handball by the Villa defender, but also Gill got sort of elbowed.
I think
VAR wasn't working at the time.
I think that it was. I think it was an elbow. I think it was an elbow. I'm not. I want to banter and say, "Oh, come on," but actually, I think it was an elbow. Was it a penalty? That I'm not convinced about, but it was. I think it was an elbow. But coming back to Spurs, I want to ask you because. Obviously your midfield. You started with 8 games in a row with no injuries. You had Maddison, Soar, Basuma. Now, obviously, Bentancur has to play if he's fit. Okay, he comes in for Soar. And
I mean, when we have a midfield of whether or not it will ever happen this season,
Bentancur, Maddison, and Basuma. That's a decent midfield. Yeah, what I'm saying is, underneath that. You've still got Soar. You've still got Højbjerg. I know you guys. I mean, I read on Twitter. It's like people make me laugh. Like, still got Højbjerg, and that's not terrible. Lo Celso, okay, it was a deflected goal. It was deflected today, but he's a decent player. He plays for Argentina.
Yeah, he is. The problem is, I agree with you, right, with regards to your squad and our squad.
What I'm saying is, you've got
the problem is we've had injury like Maddison. There's no one quite like Maddison creative wise, right? Højbjerg is a holding midfielder. Soar is, okay.
Well, Lo Celso would play in Maddison's position.
Yes,
he's not as good as him.
It's not as good as him, and that's why I thought he should have started against Wolves, Lo Celso.
But the point I'm saying is, you're going to have to get players off the books because let's say you go and buy Douglas Luiz today, who played against you, or you go and buy the guy at Brentford, Nordgaard. I'm just thinking who Arsenal and Spurs, because I think we badly need a midfield. What I'm saying is, you've got depth. You played Gill and you played Brandon Johnson today on the wings.
Yeah.
You've got Solomon, who's going to come back. I know he's injured.
Yeah.
Your front three today is probably your front three if everybody's fit. Please don't tell me Richarlison would play. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is, Arsenal have got depth up front, but I mean, Nketiah wouldn't start. I'm just saying, I think Spurs have got.
The problem is, listen, every team has injuries, but it depends who the injuries happen to.
Well, I think your two most important players are out.
It's happened to what I mean. We've had at the same time Van de Ven and Maddison at the same time.
That's the key. But that's what I'm saying. Your two key players are out, not because Van de Ven is this incredible defender, but I know you guys are rating him high. But the way you play, you have to have Van de Ven because he's so quick, which is why he played Emerson.
High line.
Yeah, which is why he played Emerson today because he was worried about. Watkins and Diaby, and he's a good player, Watkins. I mean, I'll give him.
I like Watkins, and I was saying this during the week. I thought that was the right call to play Emerson.
Yes, so do I.
I was worried we were starting with four fullbacks. But I still think Ashley Phillips, who we signed from Blackburn, he got a nasty injury for the England under 19.
Your key players, your two key players are Van de Ven and Maddison, and that is why you've lost 3 in a row. It's not just why, but that is why
But at the same time, and I know you're going to say self-inflicted, we are missing Romero, who is important to us.
Yeah, of course he is. Of course he is. Listen,
Basuma, who is important to us.
Basuma's self-inflicted as well.
And Soar, is quite important to us. I think we missed him today. But yeah, first half, I thought we did well first half. Second half, I think we sort of lost our way a little bit. We came back into it. I haven't seen their second goal clearly, so I'm not sure if it was
a good player. His movement's very good, Ollie Watkins. They've got a good team. They've got good structure. They haven't got any injuries at the moment. I mean, they've got obviously long term to what's his name, Tyrone Mings.
Yeah.
But they've got a good team. They're solid. Everybody's fit for them at the moment. They've got a decent goalkeeper, which kills me to say. They have got a good goalkeeper. He made 2 cracking saves. But what I would say is Spurs have to take their chances. Son, 31 now. Maybe you need. I mean, we definitely need a centre forward. I honestly believe, and I'll say this now. I think we will finish top 2 if those 3 stay fit. But I honestly believe if we had a Kane, if we had a Lewandowski, if we had a Haaland, if we could have one at Arsenal, could win the Champions League this year. If we had one of those, it's a bit like saying, if I had another £1 million, I could live in a bit, because it's a one in. But what I'm saying is the difference. Nketiah, I keep on going about him. I'm sorry, he came on yesterday. He was just appalling. But for Spurs, you've got to get through this. You've got to, obviously, the hardest game for the rest of the season you've got next week. The most.
Yeah, I mean, listen. If we had lost 3 games, without creating, I actually came back. Obviously disappointed we lost today. But I tell you what, more than ever, I'm fully behind what Ange's doing. I think long term we'll be absolutely fine with him.
I think we will.
He's playing good football. We've got a tough game next week against City. So more than likely that could be 4 defeats on the trot, which I don't care what you say, that could start affecting confidence a bit. Then
what have you got? West Ham and Newcastle.
West Ham and Newcastle after that. So, Romero will be back after Man City. Van der Ven, I've heard, is making good progress, but I don't think they're going to rush an injury like that back quickly.
No, you won't. You won't. You'll be mad to rush him back. Listen, you're not in Europe. You're not. Listen, for Spurs, barring a miracle, your aim is top 4. It's barring a miracle. Of course,
if you told me after 13 games we would be 4 points behind the leaders, 3 points behind Man City. Listen, looks like top 5 could get Champions League. No pundit said we would finish top 6. So I'm still quite pleased. I think we've been dealt, the Dyer's goal that was ruled out offside, that bit of luck has, we've totally been wiped out by bad luck on the back of that. So I'd rather that didn't happen, and the bad luck that we've had since also didn't happen.
The key to everything will be the key to us, you, Liverpool, City, Villa, it's going to be, VAR, obviously, it's going to be injuries to the key players, because
you just mentioned VAR. Now, I actually agree with you. I thought your goal that was ruled offside was ridiculous, and it's like, what I find hard about VAR a lot of the time is they're trying to analyze it, trying to find any reason not to give a goal. I don't know. I still don't understand why that was good.
Well, the Watkins goal today was offside. The equaliser straight after you scored, but it took 3 minutes.
Yeah, and we don't know. We don't know. As I've said this before on previous episodes, you're in the stadium. We don't know. All I'm thinking is it's taken 3 minutes. There must be something in it, right? That that they don't like for it to take that long. And the guy next to me, he was looking on the phone on Sky Sports, and we could see the lines before we knew anything in the stadium. It was ridiculous. But you're top because obviously Man City were very unlucky with a VAR decision yesterday.
There was a joke. It was a joke.
That was a joke of a decision. How that
terrible. But why that's a joke is look at the Newcastle goal.
Yeah, to me, both of them are goals. I know we're going to disagree with the Newcastle, but let
me tell you. If you listen, we're agreed to disagree on the Newcastle goal because for me, he's got two hands on him. But yesterday, not only is it a goal for Man City,
and that's 2-0 City, game over.
It's finished. But not only is it a goal, it's actually a mistake by Alisson. It's not good goalkeeping. He didn't have a good game, and I rate him high.
He's rolling around in the goal as if he's been stood on.
Oh yeah, no.
I mean, making the most of it. And I thought that was an appalling decision.
It was a terrible decision, and Man City usually get all the decisions, but yesterday they didn't. What I think afterwards, though, I look at the difference between Arteta and Guardiola, and what I see is a man who, underneath it all, Arteta's young, hasn't won the league yet, coming so frustrated by the decisions that we've had over the last 18 months with drawing lines and the fouls and Brentford and Newcastle. And then Guardiola comes on afterwards, having won last 4 titles. He's quite cool, wasn't he? He was quite cool about it. He was kind of, well, it's because he can be. They've just won the treble. Things went for them, and there's a psychology to that. And
I'm surprised he didn't go ballistic after.
Yeah, but I think it's a psychology thing. But what I'll say about the Liverpool City game is that Liverpool are possibly title favourites. And I tell you why.
But you know what? Go on. Sorry, go on.
Well, I tell you why, because Liverpool have now played you away, Chelsea away, Newcastle away, Man City away, and they're still a point behind Arsenal or whatever it is, They have got a decent squad. Yes, Mo Salah gets injured. I think that will be terrible for them. And I still think, obviously, the centre half VVD. But when I say sorry, I think I've got that wrong. Man City are still favourites because they're Man City, but Liverpool are
playing down Arsenal's chances.
No, honestly, I think Arsenal will finish top 2. I won't play it down. But
you honestly don't believe they will win the league?
Who, Arsenal? Yeah. No, I don't think. If you gave me £1 million tonight, you and me are going to go straight on to Man City at whatever it is, 1-2. You give me a tenner, I'll put it on Arsenal. With 5-1, I'll put it on Arsenal. But honestly, anybody who watches it, Man City, but Liverpool have got something about them. And that Darwin Núñez, he's got something about him. And I think that Arsenal and Spurs, their problem is that they've got some nice players up front. I think we're better than you up front. But I think that you've lost the best striker in Europe, right? We haven't had a centre forward, a proper centre. Okay, Gabriel Jesus is a great player, but yesterday, coming back from Brazil, hamstring injury for a month, he played 97 minutes for Brazil, and Arteta shouldn't have started it, but we need a target man, or we need somebody like Núñez or Haaland, and I think you might miss. I think you're missing maybe somebody who can. I know Son's I know you love him.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Son isn't an out-and-out goal scorer. He's done very well this season. Part of me would love to see him back on the left like he was when we had Kane. And
maybe Spurs will go in for Tony. Maybe Spurs will go in.
Maybe.
I think we need to. I think we need to. The problem I've got with us is that I think he likes Nketiah. I can't see Nketiah starting for anybody. But Man City, Liverpool,
the problem with Spurs also, we know we need a centre back, but any decent centre back will think, am I going to come into that Spurs team and get Romero out or Van der Ven out?
No. It was like Kane the last few years.
It's going to be very difficult to get a decent centre back who is going to probably sit on the bench for a lot of the season.
Well, this is the problem for all these sides, is that.
But with Romero, you might get a few games because of his suspension.
Yeah. But Man City have been able to bring in a Kanji. They've been able to play without Stones for most of the season, and they've obviously got Diaz. They've obviously got the guy Ake. They've got Garvidal, who's playing at left back.
I think what's exciting for this season is as in previous seasons, there's no team that look phenomenal that are going to that look like they're running away with it. You know,
For me,
City,
I agree.
City have lost twice, 3 times already. Right?
I think the top three. I think the top three will be the top three. I think it will be Manchester City, Liverpool, and Arsenal. I don't know in which order. And I think Liverpool. I think Tottenham, Villa, maybe, but their squad is not good. Villa, Tottenham, Villa, Newcastle. Great result yesterday. Chelsea doing Arsenal a favour.
I'm pleased Chelsea got walloped because I work with a Chelsea guy and he was quite confident, you know, that they're back. They got a good result at Spurs. They got a 4-4 draw at home to, you know, and I just thought against City, and I just don't think Chelsea are still. They may still.
I've got to tell you, I didn't think that would happen, but I didn't think that would happen yesterday.
Yeah,
if I was predicting the result, I was going to go for 2-2. But just before we, you know, because I know we've got time running out, I want to come back to this Spurs thing about, you know, what I can't bear is this. And listen, fair enough, he has just started. Is that Ange is getting still the, you know, you've got to give him time, and it drives me insane because when I think back to that night at White Hart Lane, when you beat us 3-0 about a year and a half ago, you know, I just think to myself, Spurs fans that night, I don't know about you, but Spurs fans, we are now back. We're going to challenge, and we got Conte. He's a winner. And the thing is that Postecoglou's come in, and he's getting all this. And you have lost Kane, and I've got to hold my hand up. It's like losing the best player you've had for the last 35 years. But what he's able to do is he's able to lose these games now, and there's no pressure on him, really. Let's be honest. If you don't finish in the top 4, somebody like you, who's you know, you've got your moments where you come out with the most ridiculous things of all time, but you're not going to want him gone if you finish 5th or 6th or 7th next year. You're not going to want him gone in the summer. So, I can't bear that because, you know, it annoys me because I want there to be. I think that when Conte you finished 3rd, was it? Did you finish 3rd when you beat us? No, you finished 4th. We finished 4th. You were 3rd favourites at the beginning of last year, and now you were like 6th favourites or 7th favourites. And it's like, it annoys me so much. The football can just switch within a month. But
listen, we've seen how quickly football can change in the last 3 games. We won 8 out of our first 10, and now we've lost the last 3.
Before we go, predictions for next week. We're playing
for next week. Let's do Arsenal Wolves first.
I'm going to go for a tricky 2-0 to the Arsenal.
I think Wolves are a good team at home. Yeah. I think you'll beat them at home. You know, and you know, I think it will be. Listen, I rate their manager. I think he's a good young manager. You know, he did very well last year. I don't know their. You know, listen, I thought they were okay against us. I thought, you know, the 89th minute, it was petering out to a 1-0 Spurs win. I don't think they showed that much against us. And
a lot will depend as if Neto's available. I don't know if he's back tomorrow night, but if he's available. But I'm going to go for 2-0 Arsenal.
Yeah, I'm going to, you know, without sounding boring, I think you'll win, you know, 2-0 or 3-1.
Your game at the Etihad, 4:30 next Sunday. Are you going to do Arsenal a favour?
We're all supporting City, aren't we?
I can't see, unfortunately.
I can see us getting at them under Ange, and I can potentially even see us scoring. But I mean,
hold on, let me just understand.
Defense is worrying me against City.
Basuma's back.
Basuma's back. I don't know. I don't think Bentancur will be. Madison definitely.
Hold on. So Soar.
So I don't know. I mean, I don't know how bad. Apparently, he's got a hamstring.
Who have you got midweek in the European games?
Yeah, no. Listen, you got a very bad short-term memory because you keep asking me every week. All right.
No, I'm trying to figure out who you've got midweek.
You should know we're not playing any Champions League games this season, right? And you're enjoying your first season in Champions League because it's the first time you finished above us in 7 years. So, you know, enjoy it. I hope you win because that will give you more fixtures after Christmas.
Mate, let me tell you, I do hope we win, because then it means we've won the group. Because if we don't win the group, we know we're getting Harry Kane in the next round. And I really don't want that over 2 legs.
Love it.
But let me ask you, will so it'll be Romero's not available, Van der Ven's not available, but Basuma's back.
Yeah, Maddison will be out. Bentancur will probably be out.
3-1. 3-1 City.
3-1
City. I think you'll score.
Yeah, I think we'll score. I think 2-1, 3-1 City.
Yeah. And I don't know if the other. I got an interesting game. Newcastle, Manchester United.
Yeah, well,
they've won again. United. They've won again.
Yeah, United are. They tend to win games where their backs against the wall. We're 3 points above. I think. Am I right?
Newcastle?
I think we're 3 points above Newcastle.
They can go above you. If you lose, they win. They go above you.
And I think we're only 2 points above. Only 2 points above United as well. So thank God we had that fantastic start, the first 10 games, because this little blip, and I think it is a blip. I think we'll be all right long term. But
listen, you've had. But like I've explained to you when I've talked about, the party, we went into the Newcastle away game very much like you did today. No Odegaard, no Jesus, no party. It's so hard. If you don't have your best players, you don't win it. But let's see what happens midweek. I'll look out for your European fixture midweek. You look out for ours, and we'll be back next week.
Now, just before we go, during the international break, I decided to have a look at our stats behind the scenes to see where our listeners and our downloads are coming from. And I was really delighted to see, North London is being listened to internationally. I mean, we've got downloads in Thailand, the USA, Japan, Hong Kong, Croatia, and Israel. But please carry on telling friends and families and sharing.
Please do. And can I make a shout out to a couple of people? Obviously, my 2 boys, some old friends who I know watch this. Bobby, who used to say to me that Dyer was a great central defender. He's going to literally be squirming at this. 4 Eyes, who I know watches this, he knows who that is. 4 Eyes, and definitely once again, our biggest is a big Liverpool fan. He loves us. Is my mate Abby, who I think he's in Jamaica at the moment on I think it's a 20-year anniversary. Massive Liverpool fan, loves our podcast.
Well, congratulations on that. Keep if you can, give us some reviews. Always helps our ratings. And I might be going to Manchester next weekend. I'm not sure, but if I do go, I'll be staying up in Manchester.
I don't blame you.
I'm getting too old to drive up and down to Manchester in one day. But between you and I'm not trying as hard as my son wants me to be trying to get these tickets. So.
We won't tell him. Yet.
So, but if we do, we'll still be recording, maybe recording in a hotel in Manchester. But
love that.
We will be recording next week after the Man City Spurs game. So have a good week, everyone. Keep well, keep safe.
Have a good one.
And we'll see you next week.